to you under the banner of the supernatural as profession. So in terms of profession, I'm a psychoanalytic psychotherapist in private practice in the Bath area of the UK. In that context, my dominant client base are adult individuals who present with very complex psychological issues, dissociative identities, personality disorders, and quite severe histories of trauma and abuse. I'm also a regression therapist, so that's quite important to share as well. And I'm chair of the Earth Association for Regression Therapy Research Committee, which I think is also relevant to share as a profession. But I'm here today to talk about another job that I do that does fuse with the other ones, and that is as a modern day exorcist, also known as a spirit release practitioner. So in this very brief presentation on a complex area, I'm going to talk about traditional exorcism from within a Western cultural perspective, and I'll use that as a comparator for talking about spirit release therapy. And then towards the end of the presentation, I'm going to ask the rhetorical question, where does modern day exorcism fit, by addressing some polarities between professions. So when we view this image of Father Amort in combination with this image from The Exorcist, which necessarily includes the phenomenon of levitation, because that's an everyday experience, we very much see the Hollywood interpretation of exorcism. Traditional exorcism is highly ritualistic and involves reciting prayers and passages and so on from the rite of exorcism, also known as the Ritual Romanum. The purposes of traditional exorcism are to depossess a parishioner or client presenting with perceived spiritual illness and afflictions. The premises are that they have been possessed by demons and that these dark force entities must be cast out. The possessed is therefore delivered from evil. The relationship between the demons and the exorcist is one of disdain, and essentially they're commanded, forced to leave. So this differs very dramatically from modern day exorcism, spirit release work, which is very much held within a therapeutic context and is enacted by therapists from a variety of often non-religious backgrounds, to include hypnotherapy, psychotherapy, psychology, psychiatry. So the images here are Dr. Terry Palmer, David Furlong, Nasos Komianos from Athens, and myself. So you might note there's no robes, no symbolic tools, no chrism, etc. Just normal looking people, but people that have got a real passion for the field. So spirit release therapy is not at all ritualistic. In fact, it's a highly adaptive process that's completely unique to the client as they present. So as a practitioner, initially I'll undertake an in-depth assessment of the presenting problems, which can include physical or mental illness, exhaustion and depletion of energy, intrusive thoughts, auditory hallucinations, emotional problems, relationship difficulties, dramatic lifestyle changes such as an inability to work, or a sudden onset of addictive behaviours. Discernment is absolutely crucial, as what may present as possible possession may actually be psychodynamic in orientation and be related to ways of managing intrapsychic conflicts. The unconscious self is very, very clever. The contemporary exorcist necessarily brings with them a wide range of skills and abilities, which can include mediumship, hypnosis, energy work, energy healing, and a range of psychological interventions. Unlike traditional exorcists who exclusively attend to dark force entities and the demonic, spirit release therapists dominantly, in over 90% of cases in conversation with colleagues, determine that the energy intrusion, the possessing entities, are earthbound spirits. Such spirits may remain located in their place of death even after it's been knocked down or built upon. And in fact, I've encountered a variety of cases in which deceased human spirits have infested modern terraced houses, council flats, and so on, as a consequence of spirit contamination of the land upon which the properties are built upon. In one case in Cheltenham, in quite a grand house, I did encounter a group of deceased soldiers who were associated with the Battle of Tewkesbury. So that was quite an interesting case. Spirit attachment, spirit possession, occurs when these lost human souls become enmeshed in and attached to the energy fields of a living person. This living person becomes a host to the possessing earthbound spirit. And of course, when that occurs, there's a whole host of mental and physical and emotional symptoms that arise. So there are, of course, a variety of reasons why these earthbound spirits did not transition towards the light at the point of death. And having worked on more than 100 cases involving deceased spirits, each of these categories has many associated cases, with often rich textual descriptions from the spirits themselves, which unfortunately I'm not going to have the time to share with you, sorry, but I'll give you little snippets as I go. So yeah, some of the reasons that might have kept them trapped. So traumatic or sudden deaths and confusion, so case examples of road traffic accidents. Unfinished business, in my experience, dominantly relational in nature, so the inability to say goodbye between people that are very significantly connected. Unresolved losses. This often creates, in my experience, angry, darker type spirits that might present as kind of dark force entities, but they're still earthbound spirits. Often as a result of, that can't be it. There's no way I'm going now. You know, that cannot be, that's my life and it's ended, so no, I'm not going. Another category is remaining with the bereaved. And my casework very much evidences some of Adam Crabtree's findings, in that many possessions are associated with spirit intrusion by deceased family members. Another example, thoughts of not being good enough, low self-worth, I'm not good enough to transition to the light. Suicide, involving fear of punishment and or guilt. In my case experience, I've not actually came across possession by a suicide earthbound spirit, but what I have seen more dominantly is infestation of properties on account of a deceased earthbound spirit via suicide.